Hello, my name is Dr. Mark Berry from Hammond, Louisiana, and I would like to speak to you about a home test that's very simple and relatively inexpensive that you can do to help with the diagnosis of sleep apnea. Nothing is a substitute for seeing a sleep specialist or the true study itself. However, that's difficult for many patients or their insurance doesn't cover it. And this particular test I'm going to talk about, which is measuring your oxygen levels minute by minute throughout the course of the night, can give you very similar, if not exactly the same information that is the critical part of a sleep study that diagnoses sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is the #1 undiagnosed risk factor for death in the United States. It is a very serious problem. In fact, a recent study showed that people with moderate to severe risk apnea had a 6-fold increase in overall mortality. Primarily from cardiovascular disease, but it also worsens so many other things. There's a specific way that it affects obesity, for example. Poor sleep quality is well known for all of a host of other problems, including fatigue, which is obvious, but also poor mental functioning, irritability, depression, pain in people who have chronic pain syndrome, and the list goes on and on. So a good night's sleep is extremely important, and this test will help you rule out the most dangerous cause of sleep problems. It's a very simple test. I have a pulse oximeter on my finger here, and I have an app which I'll explain in more detail in just a minute. But very simply, this device measures your blood oxygen levels each minute through the night, and the next morning, with a couple of clicks, you can see a graph or a chart that will show you whether you have this problem or not, and not only that, how severe it is. The recording determines your oxygen levels as well as your pulse rate, and it also can detect when your finger moves, therefore when you're moving throughout the night. There are multiple devices that can do this. I chose this one as just an example because it fits around the finger, it's comfortable. Less expensive devices that clip on the tip of your finger are uncomfortable, they fall off, you have to tape them on, and they're no good. This particular device can be purchased on Amazon or perhaps from other places. It is WellView, and I will give you the information on that. They have multiple other types, and there's probably other companies that do the same thing, but the most important thing is to have it tied into an app to your phone, and that it's comfortable fitting on your finger or on your wrist, and that it's accurate. I have no investment in any of these companies, but I do have a strong investment in your health. I get complaints of sleep problems all the time in my practice, and I try to help my patients. The most important thing I can do, though, is to help rule out this very dangerous cause. Many people don't want to hear about diagnosing sleep apnea because all they can think about is this Hannibal Lecter kind of mask on their face and the suffocation and the claustrophobia, so they don't even want to do the test. However, it's very important to understand that there are many other remedies or things that can be done that don't involve a big heavy mask. For example, they have nasal prongs that can provide increased pressure, so-called CPAP or continuous positive airway pressure, to keep the airways open. There's something just as simple as a slumber bump, which is this pillow-like device you put on, and it keeps you from lying on your back, because almost all the time that you have an episode of sleep apnea, it's when you're on your back. The cause of sleep apnea in most cases is where the soft palate and the tongue fall back onto the larynx and therefore literally obstruct the airway. And when you're in a deep sleep, your body's not aware of that initially. However, when your oxygen drops low enough for a sufficient period of time, your body gets that message very loudly and clearly and sends that message to the adrenal gland, where a large dose of adrenaline, literally adrenaline, is released into your bloodstream to wake you up or to startle you out of this very dangerous condition of literally suffocating to death. That adrenaline, of course, raises your blood pressure. It makes you wake up and your mind is spinning, so you think you just are anxious about the events of the day, but really it's the stimulation of that adrenaline. Many people can have sleep apnea and not actually quite hit the critical part of waking up and being aware that they're awake. However, it degrades the quality of their sleep as they're not able to get into the delta wave sleep, which is the deep, restful type of sleep that we all need. So we'll progress to show you exactly how to use this, and hopefully you will do this. This one cost $129, but your relatives can use it. You can help so many people with this. Most importantly, you can rule out that very dangerous problem and not have to worry about it if it's not there, and deal with other measures to help you with your sleep quality. So without further ado, I will show you in more detail how to set this up. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate how this particular device works. There's many different kinds, I'm sure, on the market, but I found this one helpful. The most important thing about the pulse oximeter is that it needs to have some kind of band on it that makes it comfortable when it slides on your finger, like this. So I slide it on, and notice that it is off. I have not turned this on yet. So the first thing I do, I've already Bluetoothed it in a prior. When I set things up, that's easy to do. But I tap the app, and the app is searching for other devices. So now I turn this on by holding it a second or two, and right away up pops my device, and it happens to be the 0633 type. That is one that you can detect because it's on the last 4 digits of your serial number. This is the home screen that you will see. These are all the dates that you've recorded your saturated oxygens. It can be for 2 minutes like I'm doing right now, or for overnight. And so when you want to review your overnight from the night before, it's going to be the top one right here that you tap, and it will show you. And I will show you some still images of what these look like, because I'm only going to be on this for 2 minutes. It doesn't help with that. Just to show you the dashboard, this is kind of neat because it correlates real time with the device. So we're seeing the saturated oxygens and the pulses that match that on my device. So we're all set to go. We just go to sleep, we get comfortable, we can move around in any position we want because this is stable on there and it's not bothering us. However, a couple of the gremlins in this situation have to be understood. You have to have this app open, and you have to, I always plug it in so that the battery doesn't run out, and I actually turn it over so the bright light coming out of it's not bothering me. Nevertheless, this needs to be open and on, and of course this needs to be on. The other problem that can occur is if you get up to go to the bathroom or leave the room sometime in the night, you must take this with you or it will break the Bluetooth connection. And when that happens, the recording shuts down, and unfortunately it doesn't restart automatically, so you've lost all data that could be collected for the rest of the evening. So we wake up the next morning, and it's very simple for this device to transfer the record of your saturated oxygen and your pulse rate, and also movements of your finger. It picks that up into your app. So you simply take this off. You don't turn anything off on this. You take it off. And of course, when it gets off your finger, it stops recording. And you'll notice a countdown here that begins 10, 9, 8, 7. What's happening is that this device is transferring to your app the recordings from through the evening. And then you'll see a little word that says saving, and so now we've saved. Once again, we don't turn this on or off, we just leave it alone, and we go back to the home screen again. You saw that little brief flash. That's the bar that says it's downloaded, and you just touch this top date here, and that will give you the information from the night before. Since I only spent a couple of minutes on this, it's not useful to show you the graph of that, but I will show you still images of recordings taken off this device onto this cell phone to show you what sleep apnea pattern looks like and how it can be corrected beautifully with treatment. Okay, so we're now going to show you normal graphs of a person who does not have sleep apnea. Notice that green line at the top that's squiggly, that's the nice healthy saturated oxygens, and on the bottom line you'll see the pulse rate, which normally goes up and down. Now here's a person with sleep apnea. You see those deep brown drops? That's their oxygen levels dropping way down at different times of the night.
and it's a different pattern. This is all the same patient. And each time those drop down for a long enough period of time, it can stimulate that adrenaline response. This is the same person who's been treated, and look how it just gets back to fine. So this just shows dramatically what's going on with sleep apnea. This is the particular system I used, so I'll leave that on for a few seconds. You can stop the recording to get that information, or you can look up for other ones on your own. But I strongly advise this for you. Hopefully it'll help. Thanks.